It's the Eagle Community Television Forum with your host, Gary Shorman.
Hi, everyone, and welcome to the Forum here on Eagle TV. It's good to have you watching along. Our Forum is brought to you by HaysMed. One of the things we like to do on this program is introduce you to new faces in our community. We have a new face right here. His name is Jim Agee, and Jim is a part of the Hays Public Library. He's the newest director there. Took over his position at the first part of September. Jim, welcome to our town and welcome to our library.
Well, thank you, Gary.
It's good to have you here because one of the things I know that people, when they see somebody new, they hear about somebody new, say, what's the background on that guy? Tell me about your background, Jim.
Well, my background is in library science for about the last 20 years or so. I got a Master of Library Science degree from Emporia State University.
Those Hornets are pretty good sometimes, but not all the time. So,
yeah. At the time, I was working in Missouri at a library there, what used to be Central Missouri State University in Warrensburg.
Mm-hmm.
Worked there about a dozen years and realized if I got a library science degree, I could go up to faculty status.
Mm-hmm.
So I did that on the weekends in the program there in Emporia. And soon after that, I went to Colorado, the University of Northern Colorado in Denver. From Denver up to Greeley. And I spent a little time in Denver and then up to Greeley. And I was there a couple of years and saw a job posting for Bermuda. They needed a library director in the islands of Bermuda. And I thought, well, I've traveled internationally a lot and Bermuda sounds like an interesting place.
It does, yeah, especially if it's a cold of winter somewhere.
Yeah,
so that might be
Colorado,
a good thing.
yeah.
That could happen as well.
So I ended up taking the job in Bermuda, and I was there for about 3.5 to 4 years. I was at Bermuda College. I was the library director there. Mm-hmm. It was a great experience. The Bermudians call Bermuda paradise, and they're not far wrong. It's still here on Earth, but it's just a beautiful place to live and work, and people.
Well, that was interesting
wonderful.
when I was looking at your resume because you didn't stop in Bermuda. You've had just an interesting, almost worldwide tour of dealing with libraries in different parts of the world because from there you went to?
From there I went to Kazakhstan in Central Asia. I decided Bermuda was just a couple hours by plane from the East Coast, and they spoke the Queen's English, kind of an English, and I wanted to push my limits, I thought, what can I do, So I made a contact in Kazakhstan, Russian-speaking Kazakhstan, and I didn't speak any Russian, but I contacted this fellow, and he said, well, send me your resume, and so after a little back and forth, I landed in Astana, Kazakhstan in December at midnight, and there was snow on the ground, and it was a change from Bermuda or the U.S.
And you still took the job?
I took the job. It was great.
What was interesting about that? Because it's such a, I say it's a Russian-based environment there. How did you fit in there?
It was one of the post-Soviet states. Mm-hmm. They're an independent country now, the ninth largest country in the world. So they're bigger than all of Western Europe. So the South is like being in Rome, and the North is like being in Oslo or something like that. And so we were in the North. and the latitude is about across Canada, Saskatchewan or someplace. It's very much like here. They call it the steppe, we call it the Great Plains, oil, natural gas, vast flatlands, cattle, not as many as we have here, and some ranches, not quite as developed, but very much the same topographically.
And would the library be the same there?
Well,
what is different about their library? Because you went from there to, I believe, Cambodia,
yeah.
Right? And you look at, does the library look the same whether you're here, Hays, wherever?
Not really. They don't have as much of a public library system in many countries. And in Kazakhstan, they have a national library, which is kind of like our Washington, D.C., the Library of Congress. They have that, and they have school libraries, some school libraries. And I was in a university library. So it was a new university, English-speaking instruction, and everyone was supposed to use English when they came into the library. And so I was okay.
You fit right in there, yeah.
Yeah, it's
As long as you lived in the library, you were okay.
Yeah, or the university, yeah. Nazarbayev University, the president of the country is Nursultan Nazarbayev, and he kind of founded this and got it launched. It's just growing incredibly fast. It was then too. Yeah, it had only been going for a couple of years when I got there. And it was very different because most of my work was managing staff and workflows and some with the collections and things. But you go to budget meetings and spoken in Russian or Kazakh, you know, I had to have somebody filling me in.
What's going on?
Some of the internal meetings. I
Now, how different was Cambodia from that then?
Well, Cambodia was a change because I went from Astana, which was minus 40 degrees all winter, you know, minus 40, minus 50 with the wind blowing, all winter. And then Cambodia.
Sounds like a great place.
No, I thought it was invigorating. Cambodia then is 5 degrees north of the equator. So it's in about 90 degrees year round. With this time of year is the monsoon, the rainy season. Every day about 4 o'clock or so you get torrential downpours. It's very different. Kazakhstan's technically a developing country, but they've got the natural gas and some, you know, it's a little more going on. Cambodia is definitely a developing country. There's growth is explosive there. I mean, everywhere, little businesses constantly, but everybody drives a moto, a scooter, little like a Yamaha 125 or something like that. And traffic, well, they have some stoplights and they're beginning to get that.
Attention, do they? Yeah.
It's just everywhere.
So after doing this is what's interesting about this, you end up at the Hayes Public Library.
Yeah.
And what was the process for finding the job? Because Eric Norris had been at the library here for several years, and they had an opening. Did you apply for the job here? Did somebody chase you down and say, hey?
No, I kind of thought I'd been abroad about a decade, and I kind of wanted to come back, and Maria, my partner, wanted to come to the U.S., so we started looking, and she is a graduate of Fort Hays State. While we were in Cambodia, she got her degree online, her master's degree online.
Interesting side story to how online learning works too, isn't it?
Exactly, and so we came here, I guess it was a year and a half ago, in the summertime on vacation, and met her professors and so forth, and were in Hays, and then got back there and I saw the position posted. Oh, maybe so, you know.
Yeah.
So.
Well, it's kind of interesting circle you've taken because, you know, starting out being born in Topeka, you know, you started here but then moved around. And it's that worldwide experience that I think brings something new to our public library. So when you first walked into the library, after being in all these places, what did you think?
Well, I was pretty impressed. I mean, it's an old Carnegie library, which I knew from my library background is really something, you know. Carnegie made these libraries available all across the country, and to have one that's been renovated and so it looks great, you know, and it's a solid place. The programs, just constantly programs for the children, the young adults, the Kansas room. All, you know, there's programs and engaging with the community all the time, and this is a little different than the academic environments that I've been in universities. It's just wonderful to see this interaction constantly, and I really, the building was great, the staff were friendly and outgoing, and the people, just Hays, Ellis County people, folks, you know, there all the time.
Well, Jim, we're going to take a break. We're going to come back and talk about some of the vision you have for the library over the next few years as you sort of build things you want to see in that and how you're going to go. Our guest is Jim Agee. He is the new director at the Hays Public Library. Back with more after this.
Hays Med is your first and best choice for healthcare. They're the only facility providing tertiary level services in this region. With more than 70 physicians and 26 specialties ranging from heart, orthopedic, spine care, cancer, obstetrics and gynecology, wound care, rehabilitation and surgery, including the Da Vinci robotic surgery, Hays Med is your comprehensive health provider for people throughout Western Kansas. Hays Med, helping people be healthy.
The most exciting yards in football. It's NFL Red Zone from NFL Network.
Get every touchdown from every game, every Sunday afternoon. And football doesn't stop on NFL Network. It goes all week.
We're covering it like crazy.
Get NFL Red Zone from NFL Network today.
Add NFL Red Zone so you can watch all the game-defining yards in football. Call us at 877-61-EAGLE today.
Welcome back to the second half of our program. We're talking about our Hayes Public Library. If you have any questions, comments, ideas, please let me know. Gary.Shorman@eaglecom.net. You can also find us on Facebook under ECTV Forum. Our guest is Jim. I guess actually it's James, but you go by Jim
I go by
Agee.
Jim. Yes.
And you're the director of our public library here in Hayes. You talked about how cool it is when you walked in, but one of the things that you bring to Hayes is kind of this world traveler of different things around the world. What do you see when you walk in and say, hey, here's what I'd like to see happen? What's good, and then what do you see you'd like to change?
Well,
Or improve, maybe is a better name.
yeah, it is good. It's a good library at this point. I want to work, well, one of my first things is really get to know the staff. Strengths and weaknesses, how can we develop the humans on our staff, the human resource. I found out from living abroad that human resources are treated as just a name. They don't really work with individuals to set goals and career paths and really develop the interests that that individuals have. And I want to do that with the staff. Obviously, I want to look at the collections, make sure we have the kind of materials that we need. We have some large print books, which are great for the elderly folks here, like me and others. We have a lot of DVDs, media material, and in the young adult department and the children's, many books, the big books for children and the graphic novels for the young adults. And I'm going to look at the collection overall.
When you take a look at library sciences in general, that's an evolving area. Like everything else, things are evolving to the iPads and the Kindle type readers. And is that a direction things will go as well? Because I know the library does have some ways to be able to connect through your Kindle and other electronic devices.
And I think that's one thing I want to look at is the electronic resources that we have now that aren't used much and how we can adjust those and maybe bring in some more that will be used more and promote the ones that we do have so that they are used more. People have to know what we have in order to use it. But we have Hoopla and some other things that the young adults have started a Facebook page of their own, and some things like this. And there's a lot of interactivity that can be done online. I think we'll always have books. Libraries are about information, and we need to just balance how much we have in print and how much we have in electronic. And that's kind of what I'll be looking at with the collection and what really
growing
works.
up, my grandpa, after he retired, was in the library as a custodian. And so one of my jobs on Saturday would go and I'd line up books and do that. And everything in the library was in the library. Now with electronic media, it really opens that up. So you do have the books you need to line up every day and the magazines you need to keep straight and the DVDs that need to be there. But with a connection via internet, it really opens that up. How do you access those resources and how do you do a better job of that when you're talking about in the library business?
Yeah, well, there are many, many vendors who have electronic products available. So we have to select what would be most used by Ellis County. And some are licensed. We have licenses for all of them. And some are licensed for in-library use only. Others, if you have a library card, you can access them from home, and it's just you're online. So there are a number of ways you can, depending on the actual product. In our catalog, in our web page, we have a list of them, and you just click on them and go to them, and it opens up the resource. And you can go into that and find articles or sites.
That's interesting. We were, Brandon and I were talking before the program because he has little girls who would love to come in. I can go in, find things, but so many times people have other things that they use for resources. How do you go about getting people into the library? It's one thing to have a beautiful library, but how do you get a a bigger group of people
Well, that's
to be
the
engaged at the
challenge.
library.
Yeah, that's the challenge that I really face here, and it's we have people, regular people who come in constantly, and it's identifying those who don't come in, or that segment of the community that's not using the library. You know, we kind of, I guess, you know, we felt internal angst when a local bookstore closed here recently. You know, and then we said, but maybe the people who are buying, you know, books will come to the library now because the books are free. You can use them for free. So, you know, we have to look at opportunities. That I hate to see a bookstore closing because I like books, but that is an opportunity for us. How can we identify those people and bring them in?
That's a good question. I've never, I don't know if I've interviewed a librarian before, but how many books does a librarian actually have at home? Do you have you have like a whole library at home?
I did have in Colorado, but since the traveling, no. You know, unfortunately, when I worked for about a dozen years in Missouri, I was in acquisitions, and that's the acquiring.
And then the rest.
I bought books all day, every day, with purchase orders and online. You know. So I could walk into a bookstore. And there's no way I could walk out without buying. I had to train myself over time. Look, you're already, you know, buying them on the budget here. You don't have to spend your own money to do this.
You can read them in the library for free, right? Yeah. Jim, what do you tell somebody that's sitting out there watching? Why should they come to the library? And if they have a question, how do they find you at the library? Because that may be part of, you know, Jim, I'd really like to see this at our library.
Oh,
what do they do?
Yeah, 1205 Main Street. Walk in the front door, or from the parking lot door. I'm the one in the glass office there on the ground floor. Come on in anytime. I tell my staff all the time, I have an open door policy. It may not literally be open, but it's a glass office. You can see me. If I'm there, come on in. Well, I would love to hear what people want and what they'd like to have, what they see here and what they would like to see. Yeah, that's why we're here.
Is the library use 50% of its capacity, 20% capacity, can you tell? Is it 20%? Because there's so many things there that I know every book doesn't get read every day.
Right. No,
and maybe not every year, but you have to have it when somebody wants it. Yeah. So I believe there's capacity to do more and more with the library, whether it be through research or whether it be online usage of text that way. And I think that's something that where the library can certainly grow, and you can bring some of your world experience here to Hayes.
Yeah, absolutely. The electronic resources are not used as much as they could be. I think the programs that I mentioned are really heavily used, like 90% or 95%. They're way up there. But the electronic resources, I don't know that we've had good resources in the past, that we've acquired good materials, but they could definitely be used more. And I'm looking at that for January 1, you know, the subscriptions end, and what can we bring in the new year, 2017, that will really meet the needs and be used more. So I think that electronic is where we really need to.
And sometimes you have in other areas as kids, you have a great kids section there for doing things. And during the winter time is a perfect time when it's cold outside. They can be. You want your kids to be doing something different, to bring them down to the library. What a great resource for a community.
We have story times for little children, preschool, and for school children, and every day there are things going on in the library. Every day in the young adult section, there is a craft or a project going on of some kind of program going on. So every weekday. So
how fun is that?
Yeah.
Jim, it's good to have you in town. And if you're out there watching, have a chance to stop by the library. If you haven't in a while, stop by, get your librry card, get it updated, get it. Do you stamp them still when you come in or anything? Do you get so many punches on the library card?
Not quite that way, but we still have a library card, yeah.
And go ahead and look for Jim. Welcome into our community as well. So Jim, good to have you on our program.
Yeah.
Jim Agee is our program guest today, and he is the new director of the Hayes Public Library. Thanks for watching The Forum here on Eagle Television. The Forum is brought to you by Hayes Med and by Eagle Communications, our community connected.
It's a beautiful day in our super high-speed internet great customer service neighborhood. Like you, this is where we live. In fact, our company is employee-owned, so it's our goal to improve the quality of life for everyone in our community by delivering faster, more reliable internet, clearer, more feature-laden phone service, quality TV channels, all with the level of customer service you'd expect from people who are your neighbors. Eagle Communications. Our community connected.